Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this next session, sponsored by Smart Labs, that will be dedicated to demystifying the migration to Android TV for operators. My name is Saeva Nebier. I'm part of the analyst team at DataXis, and I am with Gary Hamer, SVP Sales and Business Development at Smart Labs. Hi, Gary. Could you briefly introduce yourself and Smart Labs for the audience?
Sure. Hi, Saeva. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Gary Hamer. I'm the SVP of Business Development at Smart Labs. I've been involved in IPTV for over 15 years, and I now lead the commercial activities at Smart Labs. Smart Labs is a leading provider of software solutions which drive multi-network, multi-screen TV platforms. And we also design and manufacture feature-rich set-top boxes. What this means is that Smart Labs enables operators, service providers, and content owners to deliver content to their customers over any network and to the screens of their choice. Today, Smart Labs solutions deliver content services to over 6 million of our customers on multiple devices, including set-top boxes, mobile phones, smart TVs, and PCs. So of specific relevance to this discussion, we currently have 8 operator customers running Android set-top box-based services using the Smart Labs multi-screen solutions. And in this discussion, I hope I can share some of the key learnings from working with these service providers to launch their services.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit more about how Smart Labs worked with these service providers to launch the services that you just described?
Yeah, of course. Smart Labs will always engage with an operator in a consultative way, as you'd expect. So when in conversation with these operators about their requirements for an Android set-top box-based solution, it's really important to remember a couple of key points that reflect the maturity of today's TV market. Firstly, the set-top box element of any service is only one part of a modern multi-screen TV offering. The service provider will typically want to offer video services not only to set-top boxes, but also to mobile devices, smart TVs, and PCs. Therefore, it's important to really understand their plans and to ensure the solution addresses each device in order to create a unified and coherent service. We find service providers lead the discussion with Android and Android TV, as these are the current buzzwords. But for a growing number of operators, non-set-top box devices are becoming increasingly important. And we're seeing significant growth in smart TVs and obviously mobile devices, which we've heard about this morning already. Secondly, the service providers typically already has a TV service as part of their multi-service offering. And their existing TV service will typically include a volume of legacy set-top boxes in the field and an established TV headend. So this opens up the discussion regarding migration of existing subscribers from their legacy platform to the new platform, and the reuse of legacy set-top boxes and as much head-end infrastructure such as encoders, transcoders, media storage as we possibly can. And Smart Labs has helped more than a dozen operators successfully complete these service migrations during 2021. And during 2021, we expect to exceed over 1 million migrated end users, which is a real coup for us, I think. So to summarize, Smart Labs' role is to fully understand the service provider's plans and to work with them to deliver a solution that completely addresses the need to deliver content to all their required devices, and when required, make use of as much infrastructure, including their legacy set-top boxes, as we possibly can. And in my experience, this approach has enabled service providers to launch their multi-screen service quickly and within a manageable budget.
Okay, so if we look at the challenges from the service provider's point of view, what challenges would you say these service providers are trying to address? So what is the appeal of Android-based services for the operators?
This is a long answer. There are a lot of challenges when you're deploying an Android-based service. So the critical challenge we find for service providers is how they meet their subscribers' demand for access to new content today and in the future. So when operators explore this challenge, I find that when Android set-top box based services are being discussed, the service provider typically has a vision of becoming a super aggregator. That's another buzzword for the day. This means they plan not only to deliver their own bouquet of linear channels and on-demand content, but also to become the gateway to many third-party video services. These third-party video services may offer local, niche, or premium content as subscription VOD, transactional VOD, or advertising VOD packages. And as a quick aside, we're seeing growing interest, especially in the MENA region, for AVOD, in which content is delivered at no charge to the end user, but with relevant and targeted advertising. So in regions where ARPU is lower, credit is limited, this is a very attractive method for service providers to generate more revenue, and is a real growing feature of the Smart Labs platform. So third-party video services are typically delivered to end users over the top, so over using the internet, and with very familiar dedicated applications. Therefore, for a service provider with a vision of becoming a super aggregator, building an application-based set-top box platform makes absolute sense. And the most widely deployed application environment, which many operators and end users are familiar with through mobile devices, is Android. So for these operators, building an application-based Android set-top box platform at the heart of their TV service is a very credible solution. However, and here come a few of the challenges. As a service provider, the use of Android on a set-top box is not straightforward. And I'd just like to highlight a few of the additional challenges that need to be considered. Google offers service providers 3 Android options for set-top boxes, which you may have heard of. Android Open Source Project, Android TV, and Android TV Operator Tier. Android Open Source Project, or AOSP, is the basic set-top box platform offering from Google, and is the foundation of all the Android TV solutions. AOSP gives an operator access to the Android operating system, which can run on what you could call commoditized set-top boxes, which are available from a wide variety of vendors, including Smart Labs, and third-party applications, so video, music, weather, news, social media, may all be included as part of the service. However, the rest of the solution must be deployed by an operator and their partners. And in my experience, the effort required to implement an AOSP solution is very similar to a traditional Linux-based solution that we've been working with for the last 15 years. Unfortunately, AOSP comes with a list of restrictions from Google that must be considered. With AOSP, a service provider cannot offer access to the Google Play Store. Therefore, the service provider must create their own walled garden of apps, and the management of these is a responsibility of the operator and the app owner. Also, and perhaps most significantly, if your vision is to become a super aggregator, premium third-party apps such as YouTube and Netflix are not allowed to be run on AOSP. It must also be considered that in most situations, the AOSP platform cannot run on your legacy set-top boxes because these boxes are typically Linux-based. Therefore, selecting a solution vendor that's capable of addressing both Linux and Android set-top boxes with a coherent solution is really essential. Google's second offering is Android TV. We've probably all seen Android TV solutions at some point. This is the standard retail offering from Google. You can see it on smart TVs, such as those from Sony, and many retail streaming devices. The UI on these retail devices is known as the Google Standard Launcher, and is very familiar to many people. For a service provider, Android TV addresses many of those challenges raised by AOSP. It includes the complete Google Play Store, giving end user access to thousands of third-party apps. It includes access to a suite of other Google apps, including voice search and YouTube. And the need to develop your own set-top box UI is removed, as the service provider is obliged to use the Google Standard Launcher. This all sounds very nice, but for a service provider, there really are some significant limitations. The standard Google Launcher, for example, cannot be customized. So the service provider cannot add a logo or colors or change the layout. So this raises the questions of how an operator distinguishes their offering from the product that's available on the retail devices with exactly the same look and feel. A service provider must also offer access to the complete Google Play Store, which gives end users access to competitive applications, which is also not hugely desirable. And also the premium apps are excluded from the Google Play Store by default. So operators still have to negotiate agreements with those premium app providers. And finally, the Android TV service must be offered on set-top boxes that are certified by Google, so they clearly can't work on legacy set-top boxes. Therefore, and quite controversially, I'm of a really strong opinion that Android TV is not an operator-grade solution. But as Google do, Google have listened to the market and recognized one of these shortcomings and introduced Android TV operator tier. This is an operator-focused extension of Android TV that delivers all the benefits of the basic Android TV, but with Android TV operator tier, a custom launcher may be created. So this allows service providers to customize the customer experience with logos and branding and layout changes. Google does apply a limited number of restrictions, but generally an operator can customize their UI's appearance as they see fit. And this allows an operator to differentiate their offering, which is a huge benefit to an operator in a crowded market. Unfortunately, this flexibility introduces another challenge. As the standard Google launcher is not being used, Google insists that the operator's customized solution completes a bespoke certification process, which includes the set-top box and the launcher. And this certification process must be repeated with every Android point release and for any material changes to the launcher. So this is a real burden to a service provider with their resources, and it really must be considered as an ongoing requirement if you do choose this route. And it's also, and very importantly, an overhead for Google. So in my experience, Android TV operator tier is not available to every operator, and Google applies quite strict, but unfortunately unwritten selection criteria. However, all of these, with all that said, the Android TV operator tier is currently the platform of choice for operators who wish to become a super aggregator. So as I said during my introduction, Smart Labs currently has 8 operator customers running Android set-top box-based services using the Smart Labs multi-screen solution. 7 of those are based on AOSP, and 1 is based on Android TV operator tier. And in each of these projects, we've deployed appropriate elements of the Smart Tube multi-screen solution and ensured that we've used as much existing infrastructure as possible. How are we doing for time, Saiva? Should I run through some of our services, or should we jump on to some of the next questions?
You can detail the services. I just have a few questions for the end.
Okay. If we look at the services we've deployed, the 8 services, 3 have had existing TV services with deployed Linux boxes. So Smart Labs has migrated users with legacy Linux boxes to a new UI. We've introduced Android set-top boxes with the same UI look and feel as the Linux boxes. And we've introduced new services on mobile devices, smart TVs and PCs. And we've reused existing head-end equipment where possible. With these deployments, we've deployed on-prem, so in an existing head-end with an existing operator's network. Unusually, we've had 3 greenfield deployments, which are very rare nowadays. So a greenfield is where there's been absolutely no TV service in the past. Here we've deployed a new AOSP platform from Smart Labs and delivered a solution on set-top boxes, smart TVs and mobile apps. And in these environments, we delivered, these were ISPs, and we delivered into what we're calling a private cloud. So not really an open cloud, but a virtualized environment. One of the services was an enhancement or an augmentation of an existing solution. So we deployed an AOSP platform that allowed the service provider to go off-net with an Android-based platform. And then finally, our operator tier platform, which we're very excited about and will launch with with a premium brand in Central Europe in 2021. They've all been very challenging, and there are a lot of challenges when deploying an Android set-top box-based platform. But we're very proud that we've delivered these 8 platforms, and we have more in the pipeline for the next years.
Okay, so this was indeed a very detailed answer. Thanks for
Sorry
the
about that.
explanation.
Lots of challenges.
So if we look more at the risks for operators now, how does an operator deal with the risk of developing a dependence on Google?
It's a good one. I think you need to deal with Google. Operators are really used to dealing with vendors and solution providers. And I think they should deal with Google in the same way. Google wants something from your service and from the service they offer. The dollar value will be very low and possibly zero, but there will be a payment, and that's typically access to your data and the data of your customers in a limited and agreed form. There's no surprises. They don't come and grab all your data, but there is a payment. So the dollar value may be lower, but there will be a trade-off. And that needs to be considered just as service providers deal with other vendors, such as Smart Labs, on a daily basis. One risk with Google is that what Google do next, and if Google decide to launch their own direct-to-consumer TV platform, I think that's a significant risk. We're seeing Disney do it. We're seeing, Facebook are doing things. Netflix are doing linear channels. If Google if we remember, Google did launch a TV direct-to-consumer service some years ago and then withdrew. If they had to take that path again, then they position themselves in a quite competitive situation. And I think, again, that's something that needs to be considered whilst an operator is doing their due diligence.
Mm-hmm. There's another limitation that can be highlighted. It's the limitation in terms of personalization possibilities for the operators. So what are these limitations depending on the type of solution that they select? Yeah,
I think I highlighted that in my big answer. AOSP, a solution, an operator can build the service that they desire with lots of design changes, lots of features and functions. Android TV operator tier, they can create a similar look and feel and introduce premium apps and the App Store, etc. But with Android TV, there is no customization. So just standard Android TV, you are presenting what is really a retail looking device. And I think for an operator, that's very unattractive.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And if we dwell a little bit more on the possibilities to implement the access to applications and content providers. So would you say that the partnerships with these services, these OTT services that are so demanded apparently by the customers, are accessible as promised for the operators?
They can be. It really depends on your region. It's a straightforward negotiation. If we talk about Netflix, they're very open, very easy to get into discussions, but they do exclusive deals in regions, so that if an exclusive deal has already been done, it's very difficult for you to get access to that premium content. Other brands are just the same, but the lower level applications, the less premium, if you like, or the regional applications, I think it's very easy to do those deals and to get those applications on the box. That's certainly what we've found. The real premium guys are very difficult. Just as dealing with any other content, you need to consider them as a content vendor, and they work in that same way. They want to dominate the conversation. They want to make sure that their content is represented correctly. So it should just be considered as if you were dealing with a big studio in Hollywood. They are a big studio.
Okay, so maybe this will be my last question before closing. How do you see the market evolving? Do you think that we'll observe a domination of Android TV in some regions?
I really do. I think we're seeing much more movement to an app-based environment, and we're seeing the SVOD platforms and aggregation becoming more important. Whether you become a super aggregator or whether you become a moderate aggregator, I think a lot of operators are looking to bring in that aggregation element to their service. So I think Android TV or Android-based platforms whether that's AOSP or Android TV operator tier, I think they will, in the near, for the foreseeable future, continue to grow in their popularity.
Okay, so thank you very much, Gary, for sharing your experience and thoughts. And thanks everyone for joining us for this session. So we'll now have a short lunch break of 45 minutes before moving to the next panel that will be dedicated to the future of video distribution in the media industry. And I remind everyone that if you have questions, you can reach us directly through the Swapcard website, so don't hesitate. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam.